2003, Skype goes live. And by the time they get to 2005, and I left out some stuff here and I left out some stuff here because I felt that I wanted to get to the meat of the story here. And it was created by a guy by the name of Zentrum and Friss. And there was actually 4 other guys, but they're not central to this. When Zentrum started Skype, they had some bumps in the road. When they originally started Skype, what they wanted to do was their original intent was to create a Wi-Fi system that you could shoot across, that you could share your Wi-Fi with others. And then they started finding out that they could use it for phone calls. And so they started making phone calls, and then Skype was born. Now, originally it was spelled Skyper, which is Sky peer-to-peer. And then they shortened it to Skyper and then dropped the R, which is where Skype came from. Skype is a peer-to-peer video and audio sharing service. And if you know anything about Skype, you know where I'm getting ready to go. So 2005, they sold to eBay. It was valued at $2.5 billion. And that's billion with a B, folks. They retooled it and retooled it and retooled it. In 2011, Microsoft paid $8.5 billion for Skype and for their proprietary. Now, that's a huge jump. And when you start to look at what they did, 2012, Microsoft dropped Messenger off their thing. They had another software application that they were trying to get done what Skype was doing, but they just couldn't make it happen. And so by the time 2012 come, they'd fully integrated Skype, 167 billion minutes of international voice and video just that year alone. That's not, and they had grown by 44% the year over. Now, that 44% growth, so that you understand, that's 2 times all the international carriers combined. We're talking AT&T, Sprint, we're talking MCI. All of the international carriers couldn't even keep up, couldn't even double the amount of minutes that Skype had when they went live in 2012. But that's not really the exciting part of the story. That's not why I wanted to show you the Skype timeline, because what really happened, where Skype came from in 2000, we were all going through a .com boom, and a company called Tele2, which is the major telecom company for the Nordic Baltic telecommunications region. Like, they cover all of that. And some of you may have known them or heard of them. They were the telecommunications company that faked the meteorite landing and meteorite strike in Latvia, and they lost their Latvian contract, right? So they were a little bit cutting edge. Well, their owner, their CEO, wanted to take advantage of the .com, and so he bought a company called a website called everyday.com. And what it was supposed to be is it was supposed to be a news portal. And he knew he had a very small window to kind of get it up. So what he did was he went out and hired the best of the very best that he could find in programming, and actually paid 5 times what a typical coder would make in his country, and brought in 6 guys, and those 6 guys started developing this every day, and it was a total flop, right? Total, just did not work. I mean, the idea, the concept was great, but there was just no marketing. And so they dropped every day off their list. Tele2 did. And so now we have 6 guys that are sitting there, and these are highly intelligent guys. They bought the best of the best. They were trying to figure out what they were going to do. And so at that time, back in 2000, the .com had blown, and then Napster came about. And if we all remember Napster, the struggles that the music industry and the video industry, the movie industry is still going through it, but the music industry was having kind of distributing their music, and they were finding it difficult because everybody was downloading the stuff from Napster. And so what Zenstrom and Friss decided to do right around 2003, they all developed a peer-to-peer program that the goal was to go to the music and the movie industries and sell them this software application so that they could find a cheaper, more efficient way to interact with their clients. And of course, they didn't buy it. And then they tried to sue them. The software company, when they started in 2000, when they released it to 20 friends. And by the time that the year was over, the year 2000 was over, their software application was the largest software application ever that was downloaded to that date in the world. You've probably all heard of them. It was a company called Kazaa, Kazaa. Let me write this down so that you can see it. Kazaa was a peer-to-peer download program that replaced Napster, and much of what you're seeing now in the current peer-to-peer network is still run by much of what their base is. So Kazaa was basically an illegal program And again, Kazaa was the most downloaded program of its time. And it was bad. I mean, it was bad because, they thought they had something here that was going to make them a lot of money. And what they ended up having was this program that basically had them running from the law. There's a story that talks about how Zenstrom and his wife, they went to a play, and while they were at the play, a stranger comes up with these flowers. Now imagine you're at a play, you're really nervous anyways, because half the computers on the planet are running your software application, downloading illegal music, and you're nervous because everybody's trying to serve you. I mean, in little talk, about the lawyers and serving subpoenas and all that. And these guys were all trying to serve him subpoenas in his country. And he walks out of this play, and this guy goes to hand his wife these flowers, and there's a subpoena coming right behind it. And he dodged it. And the joke goes that the door would open up, and Zenstrom would hide underneath the table until they found out who it was. So he creates this software application that is just totally useless from a financial standpoint, and he's got to pivot. They're sitting in a bar when somebody says, I've been using this to send video, and that's where Skype is born. Right? So there's a couple questions that came out of this for me. First off, imagine if you were the carrier. Imagine if you were AT&T. Imagine if you were MCI. Imagine if you were Sprint. Again, twice the amount of downloads, 167 billion minutes of time was used talking on, and that was just back then. I couldn't find the numbers for now, but 167 billion minutes. That's a lot of revenue when you start to equate that to the telecommunications company, right? If you were AT&T and Sprint, how do you think they responded to that? Right? What would you need to do? And here's the thing: look in your world now, look in your terrain, the map that you're operating in now, and ask yourself, is there technology, is there some type of innovation out there now that's coming towards me in my horizon that I can either A, take advantage of to become the disruptor or the leader of my industry, or B, something that I can leverage to rise myself above where I'm currently at and start to take the top of the heap, so to speak. The other question is what can you leverage? Where can you leverage your skills? Right? Again, we see time and time again. We saw it with Microsoft. We saw it with Apple. Now we're seeing it with Skype, where there's this certain specific skill set, a certain specific product that they brought in that was totally miserable for what they were trying to use it for. But they were able to then move that into another industry and not only dominate that industry, but completely shift the way that industry operates. I mean, don't get me wrong. We still use MCI and AT&T. We still use our phones. But how much of your time now is spent doing Skype? Like, how much of your time now, how much of your long distance have you saved money because you found a different way to access? Where can you do that in your world? And then the third question is what do you do better? Right? What we're going to do tonight is we're going to bring on somebody who's a genius at facilitating innovation, somebody who understands what it takes not only to facilitate innovation, but understand it's one thing for you to know I was on the phone with a client today, and then we were talking about what needed to happen, but the reality is how do you integrate that? How do you get your team to light up and move into a different way of being? How do you not only move yourself forward, but then how do you facilitate as you bring your team forward as well? Michelle, are you there?